Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Eastern Historical Commission, April 3rd, 2024. We're here today for, I guess, the acceptance of the fence at the corner of Paquonicket and Foundry Street.
Exactly so. So let me do the remote meeting instructions. So this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board and commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count toward quorum. The meeting may be broadcast live and will be recorded on ECAT. Folks can participate in the meeting by using the Zoom link. We do try to keep meetings close to in-person meetings. So if you wish to contribute, do use the raise hand function. We'll call on you. And as a reminder for folks, because this is remote, we do need to take all votes by roll call. So, announce your name, or I can call on you and you'd state your name and yes or no. And also we need to have roll call attendance. So if you'll bear with me, I'll just call on folks, and if you could state your last name and whether or not you're here. So Ed.
Hands here.
And Bob.
Bishop here.
And John.
Jesco here.
And Amy.
Spencer here.
Thank you. And Tim.
Early here.
Thank you. And since we have a quorum of Ed, John, Amy, and Tim, we do not actually need to vote to designate Bob as a voting member for this meeting. Okay. So we can dispense with that. And yeah, thank you, Tim. As you said, there is the 200-year-old iron fence at the corner of Paquonicket and Foundry Street. The address is 555 Foundry Street. And you may remember this received a, I believe, $260,000 CPA grant about a year and a half ago. And the town's investment in restoring this historic resource would be a preservation restriction donated by the owner and approved by the Historical Commission and signed by both Tim and the select board. So Tim and I went out on March 19th and approved the work. It looks good. And in order to release payment, we need to have the preservation restriction fully signed and recorded at the registry, and proof of payment to the contractor who did the work, to Angelus, based here in Easton. So the business before the commission this afternoon is a motion and a second and a roll call vote to approve the historic preservation restriction and to authorize Tim Hurley as chair to sign it on behalf of the commission.
Did I second it?
Ed's got his hand up.
I have my hand up. This
Sure.
meeting is being recorded and is going to go out on ECAT. It might behoove us to explain what a preservation restriction is.
Of course. So a preservation restriction works like a easement. It is functionally a legal easement that rides with the property. A restriction, say a conservation restriction, is on conservation land, open space, that is held by an entity, whether it be a town, a state, or a non-qualified nonprofit that protects the conservation values of that land. And it goes along with that land no matter who owns it. Similarly, a historic preservation restriction or a historic preservation agreement is attached to the deed of the property. It rides along with the property regardless of who owns it. It is essentially perpetual. I believe this one will need to be renewed in several decades. And so hopefully the successor historical commission will do that. But the function of this is to protect the historic value of the public's investment in this prominent visible fence that's on this big corner that will also have sidewalks running right along it in the next few years. So folks can, get right up on it and experience its, pretty unique features. And it gives the town, through the Historical Commission, the right to monitor the fence, to enforce its preservation, to work with current and future property owners to ensure that they keep it properly maintained. The documents, the condo documents, it's going to be a 2-unit condo building, the restored historic house behind it, do include provisions. They do reference the preservation restriction and the need to maintain the fence, and they also reference the need to keep it insured, so that there will be funds available if it suffers, say a car crash or a tree fall, that sort of thing. So town council has reviewed the preservation restriction and also the condo documents, and has approved that preservation restriction.
So for the amount of money that we put in, we are getting something for our money. That this is not of 100% benefit to the property owner. It benefits the town as well, because we're going to be preserving a unique and beautiful asset, hopefully in perpetuity.
Correct. Yes.
Which is exactly why we undertook that endeavor.
Yeah. Yeah. And and Ed, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a literally 200-year-old, pretty amazing piece of handmade art on a very prominent corner, created pretty much right across the street from its current location.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really a local landmark and quite prominent for folks who travel through that area.
Well, I hope everybody has a chance to go up and take a look at it. It's incredible. In the center gate is hinged or pinned on the center. It's like a turnstile. It's really, when you get there, you look, you really appreciate the detail. It's in the I don't know how to say it. It's just so precise. It's a beautiful. And I hope to get there sooner than later, because it is on private property. And right now, I guess we can still stomp on there and say we're from Historic Commission and get away with it. When there's a nice lawn all grown in and stuff, we may not be welcome. So.
Oh, we can't walk right up alongside of it. I mean, it is on the edge of the property line, so you can just stay in the public right of way. And
give that center gate a spin if you can.
yeah,
We'll just use we'll say you authorized us,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, blame it on Tim.
John's got his hand
Yeah, I
up.
just have a quick question. I know it's up to the Historical Commission to monitor that fence with the periodic, yearly checks? I know Amy is part of that. Or biannually, I'm not sure. What is the?
We're supposed to do yearly-ish, but
Okay, so I guess the big
Yeah.
question, from a citizen's point and being a devil's advocate, how do we know, is this part of the process of checking in the insurance that it is active? Because as we all know, this was a high price point for a piece of art, as you well said, Wayne. Again, being devil's advocate, all of a sudden somebody hits it and say, oh, you know what, we didn't put that into the policy this year.
It is legally meant to be in the policy, and it's part of the condo docs. It's part of the master deed and the declaration of trust that it's a requirement of the condo association to maintain insurance. So it's meant to do that. And then, of course, to your point, John, that's one of the reasons to have every year, every few years, these monitoring check-ins with properties that we hold restrictions on, to make sure that there are no significant violations that have occurred. And if there are other requirements that are meant to be followed, we can, check in a cooperative way at that point. Because especially with privately owned properties, when they change hands, if anyone has ever, say, bought a house, there's a lot of documentation that goes back and forth, and you may not be tracking some of the smaller details. So, this is a helpful way through the preservation restriction monitoring to check in with property owners to make sure that they're aware of the restriction and that the Historical Commission is available as a resource to help them.
Okay, great.
And Ed, is your hand up again?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
I just like to remind everybody that this is the second preservation restriction we have in the Furnace Village area, and that Harmony Hall has a preservation restriction on it as well. that
Yeah.
needs to-
So if we could have a motion and a second for the Historical Commission to approve the preservation restriction and to authorize Chair Tim Hurley to sign it on behalf of the commission.
So moved.
Second,
So it's a motion by Hands and a second by Ventresco. I'll call on folks again. So if you could state your last name and a yes or a no. Ed,
Hands, yes.
and we're gonna skip you, Bob, sorry. John,
Tresco, yes.
Amy,
Spencer, yes.
and Tim.
Hurley, yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And then Tim, if you can come by this afternoon or tomorrow, and we can get your notarized signature and then get it to the select board for their Monday meeting.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I'm looking at the agenda. Oh, we also have March 13th minutes, if folks have had a chance to look at those.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, that's a motion by Hurley. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll make a second.
Oh, thank you, Amy. Okay, Spencer too. And once more, calling on folks. Ed,
Hands, yes.
thank you. John,
Tresco, yes.
Amy,
Spencer, yes.
and Tim.
Hurley, yes.
Perfect, thanks. And I guess motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Hurley, yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Uh, thank you. And then once again, Ed,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Amy,
Spencer, yes.
and Tim.
Hurley, yes.
Adjourned at 12:12. Thank
Thanks,
you all for
everyone.
taking time out of your day. Really do appreciate it.
And I'll
Thank you,
call you in about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, I'll be there. I'm ready to pick up the phone. Thanks.
All right, thanks everyone. Be well.
Bye.